Rishi Sunak, the Dreer leader, has taken a well-earned day off from campaigning to reflect on how it's been going so far. Tremendously well, all things considered. He didn't set fire to himself once and managed to end the first day of campaigning without killing us all, so a job well done so far. Meanwhile, the rats deserted the sinking ship, so fewer and fewer recognisable faces will be left for us to witness the disappointment to be etched upon them as they lose to a man dressed as a strawberry blancmange or some such thing on July the 4th. Well, we can't have everything, which would be a pretty good slogan for Rishi Sunak's next lectern delivery, which, if past performance is anything to go by, will be delivered from the deck of a submarine as it dives from the surface. That and more coming up with me, Nick Abbott, after the new news at 10 on LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello.
Everything is going extremely well.
Everything is going not bad so far. Those scenes from Everest, I mean, that is ridiculous. What is the point of doing that? You do all of that to for what? To take a selfie? To say, I've done it? I mean, there's so many people up there, they might as well install an escalator. Bizarre. People, eh? Speaking of which, Rishi Sunak retreated from the campaign trail today to have one of his butlers lick his wounds. 3 sources have said that the Prime Minister is taking the unusual step of a day away from the public events on the first Saturday of the campaign and instead will spend it sitting in a corner crying into a cashmere hoodie. I mean, ordinarily I don't like to, steeple, to marinate myself in other people's misery, but in this instance I'm going to make an exception. These are some of the things that I was going to say yesterday but couldn't because I had no voice. I didn't have any voice this morning when I woke up. It's very, very weird, this thing that I've got. It came on very, very suddenly, and it appears to be going just as quickly. But I'll cling on to the good news so far. I can actually hear myself speak. So these are some of the things that I was going to say yesterday. Tishy suit size, trying to make the impression that he's just your average man of the people by taking a private jet between carefully selected factories to chat with ordinary hard-working people who are doing the right thing by working hard. You know, working-class people. He was off to meet the type that he does not count as friends. What could possibly go wrong? And on the first day of the general election campaign, the PM was quizzed by what seemed to be ordinary workers at West William Distribution in Derbyshire, and his appearance at the Biscuit Distribution Centre went well, as 2 of the group bowled him underarm questions. Completely randomly, Sunak picked one bloke in a high-vis jacket to ask him the first question, which was, what sets you apart on improving people's finances? He might as well have been asked, what makes your hair so shiny and bouncy?
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
Also, completely randomly, Sunak picked another bloke for the third question, which saw Sunak thanked for attending the event as he is, quotes, a pretty busy guy right now. Mr. Prime Minister, sir, how is it you are so fabulous and sexy? He was then asked by the same bloke about his Rwanda deportation plan and whether it would see results and stop the boats coming. You know, like he keeps going on and on about.
The country's priority is to stop the boats. And at the same time, I think people know that I'm relentlessly focusing on stopping the boats. And I'm relentlessly focused on stopping the boats. That's one of my 5 priorities.
Priorities. Neither of the men mentioned in their questions that they were Conservative councillors who had been asked to dress up and play pretend. Could it possibly get any worse than that?
Yes.
Yes, it could. Because this, in touch with the common man, went to Wales and chirruped whether the Welsh people in the audience were looking forward to the Euros. Wales didn't qualify for the Euros. I mean, that's just plain embarrassing. It's just weird. Could it get any weirder than that?
Yes.
Yes, it could. Because, and I swear I'm not making this up, one of the bussed-in councillors pretending to be workers at the biscuit warehouse describes himself on social media as a part-time dentist.
What?
What's a part-time dentist? Apart from everybody in this country that can't afford the cost of a real dentist and has been reduced to pulling their own teeth out. We're all part-time dentists now, you know. But in order to show that he's just a down-to-earth guy, referencing his soaking when he gave the address in Downing Street during his visit to Derbyshire, he posed with an umbrella and said, "Better late than never." Funny, no?
No.
Not remotely as funny as watching his eyebrows dance across his face in realisation that the image of him soaked and accompanied by the strains of "things can only get better" will forever be etched on the public's mind. We appreciate that, Titchy.
Thank you.
It was just delicious while it lasted. And none of that could possibly get any funnier, could it?
Yes.
Yes, it could. Incredibly, it could, because he visited Belfast, the place where they built some famous ships. And you know the name of the area in Belfast that Titch's people decided that he should visit? Of all the ships in the world, which one did he associate himself with? HMS Britannia? No, the QE2? No. I cannot believe it. But the man whose premiership is going down like it hit an iceberg went to the Titanic quarter. Seriously, Fishy, even your PR people hate you. I'd fire everyone in your office. You could replace them with Larry the number 10 cat and you'd be better off. But could it possibly get any worse than that?
Yes.
Yes, it could. Because he popped into the Crooked Billet, a pub in Worsthorne, accompanied by a photographer from the Lancashire Telegraph to chat with staff and punters. And he had the usual dead-eyed, rictus grinning photo taken of himself outside the Crooked Billet pub, with the sign of that pub in the background, of which you could only read one word. Of the Crooked Billet. Guess which word of the Crooked Billet you could read just above his head? Right above him. That's right. And it wasn't even deliberate, because I'm sure the Lancashire Telegraph didn't think to do a gotcha photograph of him. And then he goes to an engineering college where they train builders, and he pretends, for the cameras, to lay some bricks. Yes, he builds a wall. And guess what colour the bricks of that wall are? Got it in one. He was rebuilding the red wall. And then he had himself pictured on a private jet. Much more his style. What could possibly go wrong on one of those? Apart from being photographed under not one but two signs that said exit. Which somewhat eased the pain of knowing that somehow we'll be picking up the bill for the flight. And then he was carted off to talk to some people in a Morrison's, where for some reason he sniffed bread. You know, because that's what he's been told that normal people do. And he got himself to snap to... Hang on a minute. It's lasted 10 minutes. I'll be lucky to make the hour. So the bread sniffer got himself snapped in front of the Morrison's logo, doing that "I've just heard the world's funniest joke, head back laugh he seems to think is endearing." And his weirdly shaped head is obliterating the I and the S of the middle of the Morrison's name behind him. And all that was needed was for a purple lanyard-wearing supplicant to stand in front of the last letter S, and hey presto, there's the Prime Minister of this country with the word moron, perfectly framing his weirdly shaped head. Honestly, his people are either the worst PR team that has ever existed, or they hate him like poison and are having bets on how many laughs they can get out of the job before they're all fired. What tremendous sport, eh? And just to contemplate all of the above, he retreated from the campaign trail today. Conservative aides said the move was not part of an attempt to reset his campaign after a first week plagued by the above missteps and high-level resignation announcements. The prime ministerial things that they have planned for his relaunch next week include, but are not limited to, going to a clown school to be photographed in a green wig and big shoes, taking the controls of a life-size model of the Hindenburg, and asking the people of Scotland if they're looking forward to supporting England in the Euros. That'll shift the polls. A Conservative source called the idea that Sunak was hoping to reset his campaign ridiculous, which would be indistinguishable from his entire premiership so far. Ridiculous. Hard to believe after Mr. Blobby things could have got any worse, but they did.
Absolutely.
And harder still to think that they could have continued equally badly by putting in charge of the country a person who is so clueless about the world that we poor dopes who pay taxes inhabit, that he doesn't know how a credit card works, and tried on small talk with a homeless man in a soup kitchen by asking him whether he was in business. And another campaign operative said the Prime Ministers don't normally spend the first weekend of the campaign at home talking to their advisors. Advisors? I bet he's talking to a private jet rental company to see if he can't get a flight booked for July the 4th to arrive in the States in time to see the fireworks. Which, if it goes as well as the campaign so far, will blast him out of the sky just as he's coming into land. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. But I can't actually promise that I'll read any of your messages. Phone calls, please. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
Hello, number please. Trying to connect you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yes, this person has been waiting in York. Hello, Jan.
Hello, Nick. How are you tonight?
I am odd. It's very, very strange, this thing.
You sound a bit better.
Yeah, a little bit better, yeah.
But not quite right yet.
Not quite right yet. That's right.
No.
Yeah.
Right. I've got two things I want to say.
A couple of three things.
Mm-hmm. Last night, I loved that call you had from America when you were talking about Neil Rogers.
Yeah, there's a talk show host who finishes his show and then he was listening to mine. I don't know how he found me all the way from America, but he did.
I loved it. I could have listened to you two all night. But it was such a shame that you had to break off the news, didn't you?
Yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. The half hour appears just when it likes.
But it was really good. I did like it. And secondly,
yeah,
I wonder why Sunak didn't use the briefing room for his speech the other day.
I don't know. I would imagine that he just thought his money would protect him from the weather because it's protected him from everything else so far.
Yeah. I mean, they've spent enough money on that room, haven't they? What was it, 2 point something million?
I was clipping up old shows for the other podcast, one of the podcasts that I do, which is called the Nick Abbott Habit. It's a best of old shows. Mm-hmm. And we were going on about that at the time, and I think it was £2.4 million. And, of course, they never actually used it other than for Allegra Stratton to burst into laughter when they were trying to come up with some way of suggesting that a party was a business meeting.
Yeah.
And you know who they got to make that room? Make the room that was the communications port for number 10. Which country on earth do you think that they farmed out the contract to make that room?
Was it Russia?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't recall that until I listened to that show back again. They gave £2.4 million to Russia to make the communications room for Boris Johnson's number 10. Explain that to me.
I can't comment on that.
He can't comment on that.
That seems weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's beyond weird. It's just really bizarre, is what that is. And
I mean, if he'd done that speech in there, he wouldn't have had that musical accompaniment, would he?
No, it wouldn't have got wet. And that would not be the abiding image of him in the minds of the British people from now till the end of time.
But I wonder what he did have on his hair.
I don't know, but whatever. Maybe concrete, because it didn't move a millimetre, did it?
It didn't. I mean, when you normally get wet, you look like a drowned rat, don't you?
Yeah, from the scalp down, he looked like a drowned Roland rat. But from the follicle up, it remained unmoved.
It was very funny, that.
Almost as though it has its own force field that repels rain. He could use it as a battering ram, perhaps.
And I wonder what he said when the door closed behind him.
Yeah, probably something like this.
Oh, my God.
Love to have seen his face. I mean, there are cameras on the other side of that door. I'd pay big money to see him march through that door from the inside.
Right.
Wouldn't that be marvellous?
Oh, my God. Okay, anyway, Nick, take care of that voice, won't you? Because you know we all love it, don't you?
Well, that's very nice of you, Jan. Thanks for that. It's the only thing I've got. If I lose this, I ain't got nothing. I mean, it's not like I can do anything else. If I lose the ability to speak, then what am I going to do? I don't have any other skill. Well, I wouldn't really call this a skill. It's just talking. If you lose the ability to talk, what's a talk show host going to do? 0345 6060 973. Daniel texts, never mind Glasgow, is it raining in Downing Street? Daniel, it'll always be raining in Downing Street in our hearts. James says, for somebody who's supposed to be bright and across the detail, I remain disgusted and insulted by Soggy Sunak's Soggy Sunak's pathetic evidence given to the COVID inquiry in December. I don't recall. I have no recollection. That's not something I specifically remember. As we will have a new PM on July the 4th, how can the powers of recollection of candidates be tested to ensure that they have satisfactory memory skills and cognitive performance for a role of this importance? Yeah, he didn't really seem to remember anything at all.
No, I don't recall, and I don't recall. You know, I can't specifically recall. Can't precisely recall. No, I don't remember them, but I don't precisely. I can't remember it precisely. I can't precisely recall that. I don't recall the precise timing and the date, and I don't remember specifically. I don't precisely remember that. I don't recall. I don't recall I can't comment on the particular. Yes, I mean I don't recall seeing. I said I don't recall. Yeah, I can't recall this. That's all I can recall.
Yeah, absolutely nothing whatsoever. He's got the memory of a post office executive. And we're tasking him with the big stuff. He can't remember anything. What is it with all of these people that all they have to say is, "Oh, I just don't remember," and that's it. Case closed. Nothing to see here. I am stunned. What is this? Is this late breaking news? Is this just in?
Yeah.
Is it? Wow. Well, kids, if you were unsure about who to vote for, then I think this next piece of information is going to seal it for you. Because you know that Skier is going to, whether he's gonna or not, I mean, he keeps saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Whether he's going to or not is, we'll find out when we get there. But changes to the voting age would appear in the Labour manifesto. Skier has confirmed, and he wants 16 and 17-year-olds to be able to cast a ballot. This information was received in the following way by Tories. You know what? Quite right, too. I mean, if 70 and 80-year-olds who still think that what we need after 14 years of Tory misrule is 5 more years of it can vote, why shouldn't 16 and 17-year-olds who are mostly still in possession of at least some of their marbles? And as you can imagine, the right-wing press, whose main market is the soon-to-be extinct, went ballistic, because the number of young people who could vote might mean that their favourite political party in the whole world ever might never get back into power. But if you can work and pay taxes and join the army and protect your country, then why shouldn't you be able to express your opinion on who's running the country? And the usual suspects came crawling out of the woodwork to say, well, of course, 16 and 17-year-olds don't know enough to be able to be trusted with voting. To which I would say that if they're old enough to be trusted with an AK-47 and a tank, then they're quite old enough to be trusted with a pencil in a plywood booth. I mean, Scotland and Wales already allow 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in their local and devolved authority elections. And as far as I'm aware, Scotland and Wales have not ceased to exist. They haven't elected a transformer robot or a children's entertainer into office. In fact, it was England that elected a Mr. Blobby without the help of the under-17s at all.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And the move to enfranchise younger voters is set to benefit the party in future elections if teenagers vote in the same way as 18 to 24-year-olds, as they could flip as many as 8 seats to Labour. And if 16 and 17-year-olds were allowed to vote, it would mean around 1.5 million people would be given the vote in the biggest change since 1969, when the voting age was lowered from 21. Youngsters are 10 times more likely to vote for Labour than oldsters, or as I would call it, 10 times as aware as their elderly relatives. And in one of those richly comic, gobsmackingly unself-aware interludes that the ruling party have become known for, last year, the Conservative Party chairman Greg Hands said, "This is nothing but a desperate attempt to rig the electorate." This from a party that's used every trick they can steal from the Republican Party in America in a desperate attempt to rig the electorate. I mean, Smug said it himself. Voter ID is an attempt to gerrymander the election by trying to restrict the number of young and poor people voting. He blurted that out loud. And then he said something equally hilarious about disliking pompous politicians.
Voters have had enough. How do we allow this country to be properly run and raise the standard of living for all our voters? By taking it away from the unaccountable and the pious platitudes of pompous politicians which have been running this country for too long.
Said the world's most pompous politician. Everyone knows adulthood starts at 18. That's when you get married, start drinking and smoke. That was the Conservative Party chairman, Greg Hands. He said Labour only want to lower the voting age for their own political advantage, unlike Tories, who only want to restrict the number of people voting for their own political advantage. Do you see the difference?
No.
No, me neither. And asked about the idea last year, Labour Party leader Skier said, they can have babies, they can work, they can join the army, so there are big things you can do at 16 and 17. It's not such an outlandish idea. But it is to the Tories, who seem to have been inculcated at a young age with the notion that they are somehow born to rule. It's not the people coming out of small boats you should be worried about, kids. It's the people coming out of Eton. But this news here that's on the front of my screen, if you 16 and 17-year-olds or 18 to 24-year-olds have not decided which way you're going to vote yet, well, this might seal it for you. The Conservative Party has said it would bring back mandatory national service if it wins the general election.
What?
It said 18-year-olds would have a choice of either joining the military full-time or volunteering one weekend every month and carrying out community service. The party is proposing a Royal Commission to consider the details, but will plan for the first teenagers to take part in September 2025. The cost is expected to be around £2.5 billion a year. Well, if they say it's £2.5 billion a year, then you can absolutely guarantee that it's £25 billion a year, and 22.5 billion of it will go to, I don't know, Serco, G4S, one of those. Under the plans, young people could choose a full-time 12-month placement in the armed forces or UK cyber defence, learning about logistics, cybersecurity, procurement or civil response operations. Horsewash. No, they won't. They'll just be marched up and down a parade ground and given itchy socks to wear. I mean, talk about trying to appeal to the aged. Don't worry about it, Tories. You've got the aged in the bag. I'm looking at the polling intention, the voting intention by age. Good grief. Have you ever seen anything like it in your life? It used to be those over 50 that would start voting Tory. And now it ain't those no more. And I would imagine that this bringing back mandatory national service is in order to appeal to a certain age group. Shall we call them 70-year-olds? 70-year-olds. You know, those harumphing old geezers and geezeresses who would just love a little bit of punishment dished out to the young because, their knees still work and there is some distant chance that they might actually have, sensual relations before they die.
Disgusting.
Exactly. Here's how the age groups are going to vote. 18 to 24, Labour, 57%. Tory, 8. Wow. 8. 25 to 29s, Labour, 59%. Tories, 9. 30 to 39-year-olds, Labour, 60%. Tories, 10. 40 to 49-year-olds, Labour, 52. Tories, 15. And this is where the graph normally switches, flips around to them being Tory supporters, because, they'll have been able to acquire some wealth and buy a house and, have kids, and they've got 2 cars in a driveway and 3 holidays a year. But not no more. None of the above is true these days. So the 50 to the 59-year-olds, which is what the Tories would really be, crossing their fingers and hoping are still with them, ain't with them no more. 50 to 59-year-olds going to vote Labour by 46% and Tories by 19%. So surely the 60 to 69-year-olds are going to be with the Conservatives? Yes?
No.
No. 60 to 69-year-olds, Labour 34%, Conservatives 27%. Only when you get to the 70 pluses are more of them intent on voting Conservative than Labour. For 70-plus-year-olds, 25% say Labour and 39% say the Tories. In fact, only when you get to 70 years old are you likely to vote for a right-wing party at all. 60% if you add the Reform vote, which is the intention for the over 70s, to the Conservative vote. 39% for the Tories and 21% for Reform. That's 60% for the Conservatives and Reform added together. Only at 70 does the Reform and the Tory vote added together reach over 50%. So that's their demographic now. Those are the people that they're aiming at, 70-year-olds. This is a party out of time. I mean, I don't like to ordinarily laugh at the afflicted and those who are suffering, but, never mind. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's just past 10:30, the news headlines with Tim Daly.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Yeah! Dude!
It's calling Cowbridge. Hello, Chris.
Good evening, Nick. Your voice sounds so much better tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
I was just calling. You covered it in your intro a bit, but I wanted to talk about Rishi Sunak's most successful day on the campaign so far.
Yeah.
And I read it in The Guardian yesterday that they said that he was going to be stepping away from the campaign today to regroup with his advisors at his constituency home in north of England.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, what does that tell you? I mean, obviously, it's his most productive and successful campaign today, because he's not been able to screw anything up.
That's right, because he's been completely invisible. Yeah, he's been hiding inside, probably looking for a cat to kick.
What I thought was interesting, what The Guardian mentioned, was that so far it seems to be like it's only him that's doing the campaigning.
Yeah. Well, there isn't anybody else. Everybody else has jumped ship. I mean, who have they got left? They got Smug, and he doesn't know anything.
I don't know anything.
So would it be fair to say he's becoming a party of one?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Isn't that one of the saddest things you hear in a restaurant being called out? Sunak, party for one, your table is ready.
Yeah, party of one, yeah. No, actually, that's a table of one, yes, is. But if you sat at the bar, I wouldn't mind that at all. I wouldn't mind eating alone if I was sitting at the bar, because you've got something to look at. But if you're just stuck on the table on your own in a corner and everybody else is looking at you thinking, oh, then that's a bit sad. But if you sat at the bar, then that's not so bad, is it? But I don't feel that is him sitting at the bar. He is sitting on a table on his own in an empty restaurant.
Yeah.
That's closed.
Sunak doesn't strike me as the sort of guy that would sit at a bar, because that would infer that he would need to talk to other human beings.
Yeah, poorer people than him, yeah.
Yeah, the working class. The other thing I wanted to mention too, you mentioned about Steve Bray and his fabulous musical contribution to Wednesday's speech. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're aware I've not seen it reported anywhere else, but in the National on the 22nd of May, so that was like the day after, it reports on the outcome of Steve Bray's activities. I don't know if you've heard about this or not.
The outcome?
Yeah, so basically, as a result of two people complaining, Steve Bray has been served an order and has been banned from every street around Whitehall and Parliament. I'm guessing the two people complained were Mr. and Mrs. Sunak.
Yeah, a little bit too late.
He's been permanently banned.
Yeah, the timing is abysmal. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think even if he has to retire his PA sound system, then I think he has he's done us all the power of good.
Thank you.
Yeah, we needed a laugh. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, that is some legacy to go out on. I have to say, I can't stop watching it. It's kind of like some sort of, I don't know, painful pleasure or something.
Yeah.
I can't. It's a fantastic piece of.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
it's a part of the British psyche. We like pleasure with pain. Thank you, sir. May I have another? All right. Thanks a lot, Chris. 0345 6060 973. Chris says, an article in today's Irish Independent describes Rishi Sunak as the jumping jelly bean. Can you please add this to your list of what you call him if you haven't already? Why do they call him the jumping jelly bean? I don't get it. Do you get it?
Often you...
No, talking to somebody else. Carol texts, things can only get better. Now we're going back to square one with Starmer's Labour Party. Sunak's Tories gave up governing a long time ago. Governing? Is that what they've been doing? Is that what you call it? Governing? Huh. I had no idea. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, I'd like to add to your list of Sunak's antics in a second, but going back to what you said, we had the fake workmen, the councillors, and nobody has pointed out the similarity to Neanderthal when he was telling his mate on camera, when I knock on your door, pretend we don't know each other.
Exactly, yeah.
And nobody's pointed out, if I had a newspaper, I'd have put big picture of Neanderthal on one side, equal sign, big picture of Sunak on the other side, caption underneath saying, both use fakes in the election campaign.
Yeah, and I think one of Rishi Sunak's people responded by saying, well, you know, we didn't think that you would notice. They put them in a high-vis jacket. You could have noticed them from the International Space Station.
Yeah, quite agree. But the other thing that I got today, and this is from the Telegraph, so when you get anti-Sunak stuff from the Telegraph, it's probably true. You remember Piers Morgan and Sunak had a £1,000 bet over whether a plane would take off for Rwanda before the election?
Yes.
Piers Morgan tried to claim it, and the bet was to pay a children's charity £1,000, and Sunak has refused.
Well, now, the bet was before the election. Now, the election hasn't happened yet.
No, but Sunak said no planes are going to take off, so Piers Morgan called in the bet.
Well, I don't think you can pay on a bet before the date that is specified in the bet. But here is that story. Number 10 refuses to honour Sunak's £1,000 Rwanda flights bet with Piers Morgan. You remember that Sunak said that he's not a betting man? There's one word to describe that. Liar! He made his money betting. That's what the financial finagling racket is. It's betting.
Yeah, do you see the excuse they've used, though?
Right.
And that's
I'll read it.
One person has gone to Rwanda.
Yeah, but we paid them to do it.
Yeah. And it's not on the scheme that was being talked about.
No, quite. Downing Street has refused to honour Rishi Sunak's £1,000 bet with Piers Morgan over Rwanda flights, pointing out that one asylum seeker has gone there voluntarily. Oh, my God. I mean, this man is a billionaire and he's trying to worm his way out of a £1,000 bet for charity. Ladies and gentlemen, do you need to know anything more?
The other thing is, looking at this, the man's not a politician. Any politician worth half his salt would have taken advantage of it. Big £1,000 cheque, presenting it to a charity. I'm honourable. I have integrity, like I told you I have.
Right.
But what politician would make things worse by trying to wriggle out of it?
He is so spectacularly bad at his job. It's amazing that he wants to cling on to it so much.
Yeah, well, does it? Is that why we're having an election?
Well, but why would you call an election and then go out and embarrass yourself in public with all of those photo opportunity stunts if you didn't want to cling on to your job? And I have to ask this question again. Why does he want to cling on to that job? Because he's no good at it. It exposes him to the sort of scrutiny that he would never get if he was just in a hedge fund making, hundreds of millions of pounds by moving numbers around on a screen, because nobody would be able to see what he's doing or ask him any questions about it, because he'd be a private citizen. So why does he want to do it so bad? You have to ask yourself.
I've no idea on that, but one thing Sunak is a spreadsheet man. And if you look at all the predictions of what will happen to inflation, what will happen to interest rates, probably no flights will take off. And if you go through the whole range of factors, things look as though they'll get worse. So a spreadsheet man will say, go for the election now, but a politician wouldn't. A politician would hope for something to come up.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be as good a song. Things can only get worse. Sing.
No, but he's not a politician. As you say, he's useless at what he's doing.
Terrible.
He's not a leader. He isn't even a leader. He doesn't know how to lead.
No, well, that's not what he does for a living. Like I said, the financial finagling racket is just moving numbers around on a screen on your own. I don't know what these people do, but I've seen somebody do that kind of thing before, and they'll be surrounded by, well, as many screens as I'm surrounded by, but I'm surrounded by screens that make cow noises. He's surrounded by screens that make poor people scream and wail, while the money is emptied from their bank accounts and into his.
Yeah, it's not compassionate, is it? But
no.
Anyway, great show. Thanks, mate.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973. Darryl says, I'm wondering if the Prime Minister will continue with his reign, or if Dishy is all washed up. Mind you, Labour clearly don't have any money for the election campaign because they keep holding up signs asking for change. They keep holding up signs asking for change. These are the jokes, folks. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Gran Canaria. Nicky.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, we all know fish is going to lose anyway. I mean, it's blatantly obvious. What I was going to ask you, because you're on the inside a little bit.
Not really.
You know about... Well, you're a journo. So
no, I'm not. I'm not a journalist.
Well, you sort of are.
I'm not.
Do you know what, Nick? What I was questioning.
Yeah.
Why do you think he's gone for a July election? I think that's really weird. He could have strung it out to October, November, and he's gone early. I don't understand that.
Well, you could think of many different ways in which it does make sense. He just does. He actually doesn't want to do it anymore. He's sick to the back teeth of it, and he just can't wait to.
Do you think he's had enough? Do you think he's just had enough of it?
He can't wait to go back to California. To roll around in his money. Or he actually detests all of the people that are around him, all of the other MPs in his party, and wants to really...
they're all quitting left, right, and centre.
Yeah, because they don't like him, so why would he like them or do him any favours?
Well, I know, that's what I said, they're quitting left, right and centre, but I just think it's weird that it's gone so early. It's like, why would you do that? Street out, and maybe you'll get better... I want them out. I want labouring. Yeah, well, but it's like, why would you string it out?
I can only assume...
Why would you go early?
I can only assume, like Mike said in the last call, that he is a spreadsheet person, as dull as that sounds.
Boring!
And he has read the runes, and it looks like everything is going to get much, much worse from this moment on.
And why does it always rain on me?
On me, yeah. All right,
mate.
Thanks a lot, Nick. Cheers. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. I should have asked him about the locals in Gran Canaria, whether they're upset with tourists, because people seem to be upset with tourists here, there, and everywhere now, baby. They're very upset with people in Ibiza, with good reason, too. I mean, we are the worst people in the world when we go on holiday. Bellowing about full English breakfasts and, what is Red Barrel and all of the rest of that. We don't want this foreign muck. Haven't you got any fish and chips? And getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and bag yourself a what do you call them? Not a lilo. One of them stretchers by the pool. Why would anybody do that? I just cannot fathom the mindset of the person that goes on holiday to just lie by the pool in the same place all day long. I mean, aren't you remotely curious about the place that you're going to? You're just going to stay in your hotel, specifically by the pool, all day long, and then go back home. I don't get it. But, I'll just add it to the things that I don't get. Life is one big to me. 0345 6060 973. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Listen to him. He knows everything.
David texts, I've been in a coma for the last 14 years. Can you please explain to me what good things that they have done for the country during that time? Let me think about that. Can't come up with anything. No, I've put that forward as a topic on the, well, not a topic necessarily, but I've dared the audience, I've double dared them to think of one single thing that they have improved in the 14 years that they've been in power, and nobody can think of a single solitary thing. Isn't that incredible? They can't think of anything. Not one thing. I mean, often at, just before an election, the opposition party will say, has your life improved in the last insert number of years here that the opposing team has been in power? But has your life improved at all in any way, shape and form in the last 14 years? But you can go further than that. Have they achieved anything? Name one single thing that they've achieved in the last 14 years. I mean, I could fill up, if my voice allowed, I could fill up the rest of this show with the things that the Labour Party achieved the last time they were in power for a significant amount of time. But I can't think of anything positive that this lot have achieved, other than filling out rivers with sewage. Now, you may or may not think that that's a positive thing. Me, I don't. I guess that's up to you. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Winchester. Simon.
Nick.
Hello, Simon.
The rabies are leaving the dog.
Yeah, that's right.
I've waited 5 years for this. I'm over the moon. And to see it going so badly for Sunak is just perfect.
5 years?
Well, 4.5 years then.
Well, what happened before that was so great?
Oh, I just wanted to get this lot out for...
right.
While I only became politically aware in 2016.
2016? That was the dawn of your political awareness.
Yeah.
Finally, you woke up.
I did. I used to be one of your I'm not voting callers.
Oh, my God.
But nothing would keep me away now.
How about rain?
Nope.
Snow?
Nope.
Snow?
Nope.
It could
Nope.
snow, you know.
I don't care. I have got to make my voice, make my mark.
What if you woke? What if you woke up on the morning of June the 4th and you felt a little bit?
June the 4th.
Did I say June the 4th? July the 4th.
Yeah. No, it won't be. It'll be. Well, it'll be like that June the 5th if it don't go the right way.
Hey.
Anyway, so look. You said if I wake up on June the 4th,
yeah,
or July the 4th, and feel a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'll be feeling that way if the result isn't the correct result.
Right. I think you'll be feeling a lot worse than that. I know I will be.
Oh my God, I will be so distraught.
I'll be shocked and stunned.
Now look, Steve Bray.
Yeah.
That man has got to get a knighthood.
I think he deserves a statue.
I think he's going to be stopping. He's after the government changes. He's already said he won't have a purpose anymore. So he's
what, really? Because I thought his thing was rejoining the European Union.
Well, it is, and he said he's going to keep an eye on Labour just to make sure that they're not, going the wrong way.
Right.
But as it stands, he said he's actually going to be jacking it in.
Okay, well, in Steve, we trust.
I've got to get to London before he finishes because I'm desperate to get a selfie with him.
I can't believe that you can't hear his PA system in Winchester. It's so incredibly loud. It's so loud.
One last point before I go.
Yeah.
These callers that keep listening to LBC all day long.
Mm.
These callers that are still calling up and they're saying, "Oh yeah, you'll regret it when Labour comes in." Right? The point is this, and for anybody who isn't sure who to vote for, I can't believe it, but for anybody that hasn't decided yet, here's the point.
Right.
If
point
you vote,
incoming, yeah.
Right. If you vote for a party that is not going to be investing in culture wars, toxicity, division, lunacy, then surely that's got to be 100 times better than where we are now. Everything else can come second. But let's just get rid of this nasty, toxic environment.
Yeah, first things first. Right. All other considerations are secondary.
Up the Reds.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot, Simon. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Stu says, Rishi has accused Keir of not having the courage to face him in a weekly TV debate. Maybe he should challenge him to pistols at dawn. They both use enough hair product to deflect the bullets.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
Yeah, you just don't. Rishi has accused Keir of not having the courage to face him in a weekly TV debate. Yeah, that would be like 6 debates. That's way too many debates. And just the very idea that Rishi Sunak, Mr. I don't remember anything.
No, I don't recall, and I don't recall. I can't specifically recall.
Yeah, he doesn't remember anything. Mr. I can't recall. Going up against Mr. Nitpicky Detail, Keir Starmer, who on a regular basis, every Wednesday, pulls him apart. And the only reason that Rishi might appear at some point to come out on top is that he shouts the loudest, he pulls his little Roland Rat snarly face, and all those harumphing drunken old geezers on the benches behind him just make a bellowing noise that makes the speaker shut Keir Starmer up so that they can tamp down a bit. Keir Starmer rinses Rishi Sunak on a weekly basis. He should say that he will debate him as many times as Rishi Sunak likes, because all Rishi Sunak's got is talking points. It's slogans. That's his whole thing. Keir Starmer could take him apart, stitch by stitch. He should call his bluff. But, I guess for Keir Starmer's point, that from his position, why bother? He's 20 points ahead in the polls. If Keir Starmer just spent the next 6 weeks in bed, he'd still win. So that's probably why they don't want to bother us, because, why? The only person that could possibly benefit from it is Rishi Sunak, so why give him the benefit? Roy says, I can't take it anymore. All I keep hearing is plan. I now have the old Monty Python tune to the Spam song in my head, but Spam replaced with plan.
We have a plan, or you just go back to square one. That's why it's so important we stick to this plan, because we have a plan, we put that plan in place, where there is absolutely no plan. Right? We have got a plan, that plan is working. If we stick with it, we can deliver a brighter future for the country. But like my main message is plan, no plan.
He ain't got no plan, other than just saying the word plan a lot. I'll say this again. I cannot believe that he gets away with it so many times and the journalists don't ask him what the plan actually is. Because he's forever saying that Labour don't have a plan and that we have a plan, he says. We have a plan and the plan is working, so we must stick to the plan. How come nobody has the foresight to say, what is that plan that you keep telling us so much about? Sounds super. Can you describe it for us? Can you delineate the plan just a little bit? But, you know, you can't have everything, I suppose. Never mind, eh? It's just life. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. But, as you can hear, my voice is not the best. So if you call, that would be super. Don't make me read texts and messages and such. Call. Use your mouth to communicate, not your thumbs. Appreciate it.
Thank you. On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
What's he got to be depressed about?
I enjoy working with people.
I mostly enjoy working with people. 0345 6060 973. Serena says, "Hey Nick, wake me up on July the 5th when it's all over. Thanks." Certainly will, Serena. I'll set the alarm. Let's have Manchester. Hello, Andrew.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Just to get the awkward one out of the way, can you please get your researchers to do due diligence? Because a 16 or 17-year-old who joins as a cadet, effectively, is not allowed to fire normal caliber ammunition. And can you imagine giving a 16-year-old the keys to your £4 or £5 million car, which would be in civilian life, in the military, it's a main battle tank? It just doesn't happen.
My £5 million car.
Well, I'm saying that's the equivalent, isn't it? The main battle tank costs $5 million. So can you imagine if you had a £5 million car and you got a you're responsible for it and just handing the keys over to the 16-year-old to drive it? It doesn't happen.
So are you telling me that 16 and 17-year-olds don't handle weapons if they join the army?
They do, but they're not the caliber of weapons that are used in warfare. They're training, for God's sake.
Yeah, but can they kill people? Can they kill people with them?
Well,
yes.
If you put it up to his head in a point-blank range, I suppose, possibly.
Right, so what's the difference?
Well, it's target shooting. It's target shooting. You're a long way away from the target, and you're firing a cardboard target.
No, if you join at 16 or 17 years old, you go through Harrogate for about 20 weeks, something like that, and when you come out, then you're an actual real-life army person.
Yes.
Yeah. So everything you just said is wrong.
So a 16 and 17-year-old would be given the keys to a piece of kit that's worth an awful lot of money.
I don't know why you're obsessing about tanks. And, bullets can hurt people too.
Oh, yeah, but they fire small caliber bullets and they're at target ranges.
If you go through your training... No, don't anyway me. You called in to correct me, and I'm telling you you're wrong. If you join at 16, you go through 20 weeks of training, and then you come out of it as a regular army person, at which point you are undoubtedly handling weapons of mass destruction if you point them and pull the trigger at enough people.
Please don't talk over me like that.
Are you kidding me? You're not a Tory politician, are you, by any chance?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, what's your experience of what you're spending?
I am reading the Army website.
Oh, you're reading, okay.
Yes, the Army website. I'm going to guess that the Army website knows more about the Army than you do. But they don't know as much about pomposity as you do, so you do have the edge on them there, Andrew. 0345 6060 973. God, some people are just too annoying. I'm too ill to talk to Andrew from Manchester. Call me back in a couple of weeks. In fact, call me back in about 3 hours. I won't be here. Bromley, Aisling.
Hi, Nick. Oh, dear. Oops. I can't give you... That was awkward.
You're very faint, Aisling.
Am I still very faint? The producer said...
No, that's a bit better, yeah. Please speak directly into the phone.
I am. I said I'd give you a quick call to rest your voice. Speaking of voices, did you ever listen to James Murray? Do you remember I said he sounds a bit like Rishi Sunak?
Who's James Murray?
James Murray, he's a Labour politician.
Oh, right.
Just look him up and see if you think he sounds like him.
Aisling, I most certainly will do nothing of the sort.
You're useless. I'm only joking. Also, if you are deciding that you find a moment to do that, look up. Well, you already know what they sound like, but I think Natalie Elphick sounds a bit like Nadine Dorries. I don't know why I always pick up these kind of sound-alike things, but
right.
I think that. Also,
it's just the way your brain is wired.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, do let me know if you get a chance. But the reason I called was because I wanted to complain about letting agents.
You want to complain about letting agents?
Yes, letting agents.
Are you sure you called the right show?
Yeah, because I think that people have an opinion on that.
Okay. Letting agents.
Yes, they're very annoying because, you know, the way when your tenancy is due for renewal, and a lot of the time, you know, landlords will increase the rent, but other times they might not bother. And my landlord wasn't going to increase the rent, and then the letting agent decided to say that they should increase the rent, and now they're increasing.
Yeah, well, the letting agent probably gets about, 10% of the actual rent, so it's in their interests to hike up the rent. Yeah. But the landlord can insist.
Can they?
Of course.
Right.
Because the letting agent is working for the landlord. The landlord is paying them. The landlord can tell your letting agent what to do. I mean, I was renting a place, and the previous people hadn't been that good as tenants. And I, as you can imagine, Aisling, was so fantastic as a tenant that the owner of the building gave me a 3-year extension at the same price.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but then I found somewhere to buy, and I left anyway, and probably the place is probably back to being a tip again. But you just got to be a good tenant, and
that's why they weren't going to increase the rent.
Right. Okay.
They're very happy, but that's why I feel like I just don't know. This is why I blame the letting agent, because everything was fine until they got involved.
But how do you know that the landlord was not going to increase the rent?
Because she told me a few weeks ago. And because they didn't have any reason to, because then they say that other flats in the building go for more, but they all have renovated and they come with a garage, and there's a reason that they go for more.
Yeah.
But, you know, this flat it's fine, but it's, you know, it could do with kind of, if they wanted to increase the rent, they could do with, you know, doing a bit with it. But so they weren't going to bother increasing it. And put it this way, I don't think they need to. They're very well off. And they've got a number of flats. And, you know, it was all fine until the last few days when the letting agent apparently is saying, oh, this, you know, rents are increasing so much, you should increase it. But
yes.
So annoying, like, it's just a pain.
Well, I guess so. But, you know, that's just called greed, isn't it? I bet the landlord could have stood their ground and said, no, I absolutely love Aisling and everything about her, and I demand that she be allowed to stay in that place at the current price. Could have said that, but they didn't.
Well, it's not over just yet. It's only in talking, so nothing's been written down just yet.
Right.
So I'll keep you updated in about 2 weeks' time.
Well, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, Aisling.
I know.
Which is a pretty precarious place to be for 2 whole weeks. You see me shudder in anticipation. People just cannot stop from completing that word. It's like it hangs in the air and you just can't stand it anymore. Am I right?
I think you're right, yeah.
All
you're
right.
always...
OK, good work, Ashling, and I wish you all the best. Cheers, Badoo. 0345 6060 973. Alex says, when Rain Man stood... When Rain Man stood outside number 10 and called the election, I almost felt bad, says Alex. It was the sight of him almost drowning in the rain and being drowned out by Labour's 1997 anthem. However, I feel a bit better choice would have been what they played on the sinking Titanic. It's beautiful that a man who speaks of nothing but plans had completely failed to plan for the weather. It's not that he failed to plan for the weather, because it was already raining when he marched out into it. I imagine that because he has just wafted through life on a perfumed cloud, never having heard the word no, that he could hold the rain off just by the sheer force of his personality, or by the sheer amount of his money. But God don't care for that kind of stuff. And he got exactly what he deserved. I mean, it was just absolutely beautiful. In fact, I might actually watch that on a daily basis, just in order to cheer myself up, just in order to see the the dawning realization flitting across his eyes that this world-beatingly embarrassing moment is going to be the way that this nation remembers him forever. Giving that rambling speech, I don't know whether he had it written down or whether he was just coming up with it off the top of his head. I don't remember a single solitary syllable of it. Do you? But I do remember that that sort of terrified, hurt puppy dog look in his eyes as the rain on his shoulder got heavier and heavier, and I'm sitting there actually rooting for the weather, because he came out and it was a fairly foul day, right enough, and it had been raining for days previously. So it's not like he had forgotten what the weather in this country is like. And you could see the drips on his jacket start very, very small and then get larger and larger. And you thought, actually, there's something really dramatic happening here. And then the music piped up and I thought, oh, God, this is absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Rishi Sunak.
Thank you.
For everything that you've done so far. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Bermondsey. Lavinia Grace.
Oh, hi, Nick. How are you, my lovely?
I am great, mate.
Lovely to hear you again. It really is lovely.
Cheers.
Well, what I want... thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay. What I want to say about... not Nick. What's his name? Rishi. Rishi Sunak, right? Yeah. You know, ages ago, I said to you, if I remember rightly, that he was given a heavy task when he took that job on, okay? And if you think about it, he has never had a job like that, you know, because earlier, you know, you were saying he's into, you know, like the computers, the pounds and all that sort of thing, right? So he was, in a way, he was out of his depth. But what I want to say...
Yes.
In the early days, you know, when we had this coronavirus and everything, yeah?
I think I've got it now.
Well, there you go. But what it is, I hope you haven't, but I don't think you have anyway.
Well, it's just very, very weird.
Too nice a person.
It's too nice. Well,
no, you are, Nick.
The virus
Everybody loves you.
decides on who to infect depending on how nice they are. I didn't know that.
No, that's not. But what I want to say about... Rishi, in the early days, you know, when he wanted to do it, you know, I mean, I felt that he was oh God, it's gone out my. He was so enthusiastic. He wanted to do it. He wanted to make a difference, and he.
But he wanted to make a difference for who?
For the country.
No,
I
don't believe that for a second.
Well, hold on a minute. Hold on.
Okay.
What I want to say, I feel. He has been put on the front line, right? And have you heard that expression, made a fool guy? And what it is it's
made a fool guy.
Yeah, the fall guy. What it is, the reason why he's holding this election, whatever, he wants to go ahead and do it because he's had enough. Yes. He's absolutely had enough. Right. And I don't blame him because the people behind him, like Cameron, Johnson and all that, all the cronies, they're behind him. But sadly, he's up there in the weather, in the rain, and he's trying to say this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? You know what I want to say? I feel sorry for the man.
Come off it. He's a billionaire, Lavinia Grace. He wanted this job desperately, and he's desperately trying to cling on to it. Do me a favour.
Yes, I know that, Nick. Yes, but I know that. We all know that. But it's not his fault. Do you know whose fault it is?
It's his fault.
It's not his fault, Nick.
What? Hang on a minute. What is not his fault?
What's happening, you know, with all the water, the contaminated water.
Yeah, that's his fault.
No. It's already been happening ages ago.
Yeah,
right?
he was a member of this government ages ago. He was a member of the government through the COVID thing. He was a member of the government when billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of pounds went missing to God knows where. Where's all that money gone that he was responsible for keeping?
Yeah, but you can't, what I'm saying, you can't really blame him because I really feel... Hold on, Nick.
I am blaming him.
Yeah, I know you're blaming it. Everybody's got to blame bloody somebody. Mm-hmm. But I think the people that you need to blame, I really think the people is Cameron and Johnson and all.
Right. Well, I blame
cronies.
All the other cronies. Yeah. Well, I blame all of them too. But no, thank you. But specifically, the man in number 10, the man with a plan.
We have a plan.
Yeah, plan. No plan. Anyway, Lavinia Grace, appreciate that thought. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
This is LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Okie dokie.
0345 6060 973. Speaking of okie dokie, we haven't heard the latest instalment of the woke wars yet, because that is what they will be going to the polls on. They will be trying to entice you. I mean, they're trying to get the old people on board. You know, they've got the 70-pluses, no doubt about that, but they're trying to get the 60-pluses back on board by doling out a little bit of punishment to the young, by saying that, they should all be sent into the army. National conscription, that's what you want. Now, I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I mean, other better-run countries than this have national... not subscription, national, what is it? National, not subscription, it's national, what's the word I'm looking for? National prescription, national, what is it? Can you hear me? Can't hear me. Can you hear me now? National...
Conscription.
Conscription is the right answer. Finally, somebody who has a clue as to what is going on around here. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea, national conscription, because as I say, other countries, better-run countries than this one, do that, and they seem to be okay. But it's the reason that they're doing it is the thing. They don't have a plan for this. They just thought it up and wrote it on the back of a fag packet. They thought, oh, God, the first day of campaigning has gone disastrously badly. How can we get on top of this again really quickly? Oh, I know, let's pick on the young. That'll please the old geezers. That's why they're doing it. Not that there is actually anything in place to make it happen yet, because they know that they aren't going to be in a position to make it happen. They just think that doling out a little bit of punishment to the young is going to please the oldsters. Because, let's face it, the oldsters are those most likely to go out and vote. I mean, Keir Starmer can say that he's going to give the vote to the 16 and 17-year-olds, but you've got to prize them out of bed to go and vote to make it happen, to make a difference. 0345 6060 973. Jurit, Amsterdam.
Hi, Nick. I hope you feel better soon.
Thanks.
So, I'm so sorry. Right when you're coming to me, my dog is having a fit, but please bear with me. I'll try to calm him down. So I thought the summary of conservative ethos is well summed up by your earlier caller about the army and the brief phrase, "Oh, you're reading." Yes, girl. Yeah. Read something.
Reading.
This sense that people seem to have in the Conservative Party, that because they had a personal experience. If they worked hard, they bought a home, etc. It seems to be this worldview where you extrapolate what happened to you personally.
Yeah. I think in a lot of cases they think I was born to millionaire parents. It's your laziness that you weren't that you decided to be born to poor parents.
There's this beautiful phrase about George W. Bush that doesn't quite work in America, in the UK, because in Europe we don't have baseball. But a brilliant phrase about the phrase about his father was he was born with a golden foot in his mouth. And the phrase about George W. Bush was he hit a triple. He was born on third and thinks he hit a triple.
I have absolutely no idea what that means, but it sounds like a good thing.
I'm sorry, absolutely. I shouldn't belabor it. I'm too gay to belabor sports references anyway. Speaking of, if I might for a second, I had a wonderful conversation with, I'm cursed with a propensity for British men. And I had a wonderful conversation with one yesterday. Had a drink, exchanged phone numbers. He texted me this morning. He goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "Listening to LBC." He goes, "What's that?" Now, that in of itself is not inherently disqualifying, but I said it's UK talk radio about politics. And he goes, "Oh, I don't really do politics."
Uh-oh.
And I don't know if any of your listeners have this feeling where they're so principled, it might be the reason they're single forever. But I was like, no, this is not going to work. He goes, I reply, I go, sorry, sir, go ahead.
No, you should have explained to him. He might not do politics, but politics will do to him.
Well, I would slightly, I think this is still accessible for radio, but I said the problem with politics is that even if you don't do it, it will do you.
Correct.
And either you can prepare, never mind. Let me not belabor this double entendre.
Yes.
But yeah, stunning. And lastly, if I might, is that when I got on the line, you were asking the question, which to me seems rather obvious, and I've done a little bit of rudimentary research into it. Why did he call the election on July 4th? I think there's only one logical reason for it. I mean, first of all, it's the one bit of economic news that they could embrace and be like, oh, look, slight uptick, let's grab that while we're ahead.
Yeah.
But secondly, by calling it in the middle of summer, and please, all of your listeners, this matters, it makes it so that students are in transition, young people are on vacation or not quite sure whether they've landed their next semester at wherever they've put themselves in debt to be allowed to study in your country this year, et cetera, et cetera. So it is a ploy to make sure that as few people get their voter ID sorted, and you guys do have new legislation, so check your council site, or not get their postal vote sorted in time. And it seems to me that can't come up with any other analysis than that this must be a primary motivation in them calling it now.
That sounds about right to me.
I wish it wasn't.
All right, thanks a lot, Jurett. 0345 6060 973. Hey, kids, wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think. If you haven't got your voter ID card yet, get one right now. Not tomorrow, not the next day. Don't put it off for a month. Don't put it off till August. That'll be too late. Do it right now. And if you don't know where you're going to be on July the 4th, then get yourself a postal vote. It's easy. Have you seen the internet? You'll find all the information you need on there. Go ahead, I double dare you. Just put TikTok down for a moment and stop perfecting your dance moves and get yourself a voter ID or a postal vote, for crying out loud. This stuff's important. It's more important to you than it is to the 70-year-olds who will absolutely, totally and definitely go out to vote, regardless of what the weather is like. You know that's true. So just do it. And I know that on July the 5th, I'll look at the turnout, and it will be disappointingly low. I just feel that it's just going to be that way. People will assume that Labour have got it in the bag and they won't need to go out and vote, which will mean that Labour might not have it in the bag. And this could be the upset of the century. Because the amount of people who are saying, oh, well, you know, it's, Keir Starmer is definitely going to be the next Prime Minister and Rishi Sunak doesn't have a chance. Well, he does have a chance. Absolutely. And he is going to do everything in his considerable power to make it as difficult as possible for Labour to win the election. And the amount of misinformation that is going to come people's way, directly sent to your social media feed, based on what you have looked at and liked in the past. They have information on you that could fill a telephone directory. They know more about you than you know about you. And they will play on your interests and on your weaknesses. And if you're a dog lover, then they'll make it appear as though Keir Starmer is intent on, I don't know, making all dogs mandatory to be muzzled in public. Or they all have to have their front legs tied together. Or some ridiculous thing like that. Every single person in this country is going to get hundreds, if not thousands, of directly targeted social media posts, and you won't know that it is coming from the Conservative Party or their billionaire backers. Because this is what they do now. They are in the business, not the Tory party themselves, but their billionaire backers, the people who brought us Donald Trump and the people who brought us Brexit. They're in the business of screwing over the electorate of whatever country they happen to be operating in. They can deliver election results. That's what they do. And the only way to stop them is to go out and vote. And the only way to go out and vote is to have a voter ID card. They're trying to make it difficult for you to do it. So don't let them win before you even start the game. Go out and get yourself a voter ID. Go out and get yourself a postal vote if you don't know where you're going to be on July the 4th. And time is ticking already. It is running out to get that. So don't delay. Do it today. 0345 6060 973. It's 11:30 on LBC, the news headlines with Tim Daly.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
So they opened their big mouths and out came talk. Talk.
KT says, I thought I just heard something about the Tories on the campaign trail saying that they wanted to make personal allowances fairer. Didn't Jeremy Hunt just have the opportunity to do that while cutting national insurance recently, which would not have pushed around 4.5 million workers into a higher income tax brand? Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of ungunners, KT, and that's just one of them. He wants to make personal allowances fairer. It's just, I don't know, Brexit or no, not Brexit. They don't mention the B word anymore, do they? Because they can't think of anything positive to say about it. And people might quiz them about the promises that they have previously made.
We could have cheaper food, clothing and footwear straight away by getting rid of the protectionist anti-trade tariffs that the EU imposes. And it would be very good for the British people and it would provide certainty. And I think once there's certainty, the country will begin to reunite.
Painful. This text says, Michael Gove could not push his renters' reform bill and 2019 manifesto pledge to ban no-fault evictions for people and children before he left Parliament forever. But on the final day in Parliament, before it was closed, animals in London Zoo will be pleased to hear that Parliament has extended the lease for London Zoo from 60 to 150 years. You can't make it up. I guess we now know which animal they care for, and it ain't humans. Yeah, London Zoo, the lease on the land has been extended to 150 years. I don't know. I find zoos a bit depressing. I find it a bit surprising that they're still a thing. Like prisons for animals, really. But I guess that might not be a popular thought. Glasgow, Eric.
Nick, hello.
Eric.
Hiya, pal. Listen, I've got to pull you up tonight, unfortunately.
Okay.
I have to, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. And I don't usually criticise you because you're a most amazing presenter on LBC, but unfortunately I have to pull you up, pal. I have to tell you. How's the throat before I start? How's the voice going?
Well,
you're sounding good.
Yeah, it's all right, I guess, yeah.
So you're sounding good. You said something about British Army, British soldiers.
Yeah.
They only have to do 20 weeks or something like that, if you remember what you said. Yeah.
Well, that's what the Army says.
That's not what the Army says, Nick.
It does. There are two courses. Hang on a minute. A 16. Wait a minute. 16 and 17-year-olds are allowed to join the Army. There are two courses, a long and a short course. Which one you join depends on the job you're hoping to do in the Army. If you're on the short course, you'll have 3 weeks off mid-term, while those doing the long course will have 8 weeks off. The short course is 20 weeks. I'm reading from the Army's own website.
Yeah, okay then. Speaking as a full-time soldier who's done full-time service and also reserve service, I completed 2 weeks before I was deployed to Iraq as a British Army soldier, Nick, as a reserve soldier. And the British military are so reliant on reserve soldiers at the minute because of the state of the country. You don't have to do 20 weeks to be deployed as a soldier. This stands for the reserve of the Army, the Navy and the Royal Air Force. So put it out your pipe and smoke it. All right, pal?
Well, what age were you when you joined then?
16. I was 16. I joined the regular army. Yeah, I've done more than 20 weeks, that's for sure. Came out of the regular army, joined the reserve unit, done 2 weeks the reserve unit. I was posted to Bosnia, posted to Iraq.
Well, now, hang on. No, so you weren't... So I thought you were saying that you joined the Army and 2 weeks later you were on the front line. But you said that you joined the Army and then you left and then you joined the reserve. So how long were you in the Army for?
No, but what I'm trying to... Listen, we'll cut this out and we'll go back to the basics here. What I'm trying to imply is a British Army soldier can join the reserve unit and do 2 weeks training, right, and then be deployed to anywhere in the world.
I find that hard to believe.
Well, you go to your Army Reserve unit, you can do 2 weeks combat training, and then you can go and work abroad. That's what happened to me, pal.
No, but it's not what happened to you. Hang on a minute, Eric. I can't compete with you for volumes. I'm going to have to pull you down. I can't talk over you. So you're saying, though, that you joined the Army and went through all of the training. How long was the initial training?
The initial training for what sort of particular unit are you looking for?
I've got no idea. I mean, your unit, whatever you did.
2 weeks. You can do 2 weeks in a reserve unit. You can do 2 weeks in a military unit, any military unit at all. 2 weeks full training, right? Not 20 weeks or 28 weeks or whatever you're talking about. You do a phase 2 training that will last 2 weeks.
From no experience. Hang on a minute. From no experience whatsoever. 2 weeks training and you're on the front line. I don't believe you.
2 weeks phase 2 training. You can go. We can be deployed to anywhere you want to go.
From no experience in the Army at all. 2 weeks training and you're on the front line. I don't believe you.
2 weeks training. You don't believe me?
No.
If you do something like 1 to 2, more or less 2 weeks training, I'll give you. And as a reserve soldier, you can go and be deployed to anywhere. You can join any regular Army unit.
Well, what can you possibly learn in 2 weeks?
Oh my God, possible field craft training. There's plenty you can learn. You're starting to divert the conversation here.
Well, I'm not. I'm not. I mean, you're telling me there's something that's absolutely extraordinary, and I find it really hard to believe. In fact, I don't believe it. That from no experience at all, you can leave school, have 2 weeks training, and be sent to the front line. I just don't believe it.
More or less, pal. More or less, Mucker.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll leave that with me, Eric, and I'll mull it over a while. If that is true, then we're in bigger danger than I realised. Let's hope that Vlad the Insaner isn't listening to this. Otherwise, we're in big trouble. 0345 6060 973. Tariq texts, they should rename 10 Downing Street to 10 Drowning Street. These are the jokes, folks. Let's see now. Who's been waiting the longest? Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi. Good evening, Nick.
Yes, Jan.
It's good to hear you on the air again, and that your voice is you're holding out.
Yeah.
You could always you can write.
What?
If things get difficult.
Oh, writing. I hate writing. It's so boring.
Maybe you just write as you think, because you have these wonderful way of using language and
yeah, but it just takes too long. I mean, this is the beauty of doing a talk show, is that you just speak. You don't have to write it down. You don't have to consider the structure of sentences or anything like that. You just blurt it out. Any old rubbish will do.
Well, you can always get, what do you call it? You can always get some anamnesis. What you call them? People get these writers to write their memoirs and things to them and everything.
Well, that's a good idea. I could get somebody. I could get some. I could get somebody to do this show for me, and charge them just the same.
No, not to do the show for you. You'd be sadly missed.
Okay.
Anyway, there was just a thought. I mean, maybe it's very different writing. Anyway, never mind. Start a journal.
No, I'm not going to do that.
AI could do it for you.
Yeah, I could get a robot to do this show.
Affirmative.
No, I don't mean do the show. I mean to help you write it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, that was what I really. Anyway, that was a thought, because when you said to Jan in the North earlier that you weren't sure what you'd do.
Right.
But listen, Nick, I thought this might cheer you up.
Doubtful.
No, wait. About Rees-Mogg, about Dan Norris, the Labour candidate, who's going to be fighting the election, the same seat that Rees-Mogg has got. It's a new what do you call it? It's a new
seat.
Yeah, it's a new seat. That's
new boundary.
Yeah, a new boundary. Where is it now? It's in
North Somerset and Hannam.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and so he's Dan Norris, who's hoping to. Well, actually,
he's the mayor of West England.
Yeah, but they're saying that he stands a good chance of unseating Rees-Mogg.
Right. Well, I certainly hope so. Because it's getting to the point where on July the 4th or the 5th, whenever the count comes in, it's getting to the point that we won't be able to recognise the faces of any of the individuals to see the disappointment etched upon them, because they'll have all jumped ship by that time.
Yeah, but that's something I want to come to, because this is a second point I'd like to make. Is about, you mentioned not long ago about misinformation in the elections of the younger ones and the people getting voted. There's an even bigger one, which is why it's like Sunak is not wanting to even mention it in the public arena, though he's mentioned it. Well, he has, but he's not forefronting it as that, like this threat or the misinformation that it can come from those what they call the CRINC, American CRINC countries, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea.
Yeah.
They say are likely to can sow division and chaos at the election, which there's not enough security in place. Actually, it was surprising that they found out that the election commission found out that the details of millions of voters were part of a cyber attack that took place in August 2021, but was only revealed last year. So all these things can happen.
I'm sure they're happening on a regular basis. It's just that they don't want to tell us about it, because it would mean that we would have less confidence in the system, whatever the system is, like the banking system, for instance. I'm sure that banks get attacked all the time. They just don't tell us about it because we would freak out and want our money back.
But see, look. Even a lot of MPs and peers have written to the Prime Minister to warn that UK must be prepared for the possibility of foreign interference in the election. This election, including those countries, what they call CRINC.
Yeah.
China, Russia.
Well, Russia interfered. Russia interfered in the Brexit vote, and to such an extent that the government was so fearful of what they might find out that they failed to look. That was the result of the Russia inquiry.
And China, they claim
so it's happened
hacked
already.
the Ministry of Defence system wrong.
Right.
But what's going to be extraordinary with this election is that it might be the first time that people. I think the Parliamentary Office of Science and Technology wants to warn the electorate to be worried. But what could we do?
I'm warning you.
Yeah,
be vigilant, Jan. Be vigilant is what you can do. Make sure you are vigilant at all times. Gotta go. Thanks for that. Here's Jacob Rees-Mogg. He tweeted this out. As the Conservative candidate... I can't do the voice. As the Conservative candidate for the seat of North East Somerset and Hanham, I, Jacob Rees-Mogg, am asking for your vote to support a party that believes in supporting the freedom of the individual, in low taxation, in controlling our borders, and in ensuring there is opportunity for all. Please vote Conservative on the 4th of July. That was his tweet, with a picture of Jacob Rees-Mogg. As though anybody needed that in their life. And I think he means the freedom for rich individuals to do what they please, while restricting the ability of us poor dopes who pay taxes to protest about it, when he said to vote to support a party that believes in supporting freedom of the individual. And then he said that believes in low taxation, in controlling our borders, and in ensuring there is opportunity for all. And when he says that they believe in low taxation, I think he means that we poor dopes who actually do pay taxes should pick up the slack for those that manage to avoid paying taxes by offshoring their wealth to tax havens. And when he says they believe in securing our borders, I think he means making the borders as porous as a paper napkin. And when he says his party believes in ensuring there is opportunity for all, I think he means opportunity for him and people like him. Other than that, I am fully on board, totally convinced he would get my vote if I had been kicked in the head by a horse. Over to you, you good people of North East Somerset and Hanham. You should ask yourselves, are you better off now than you were 14 years ago? Or whether you believe in this.
How do we allow this country to be properly run and raise the standard of living for all our voters? By taking it away from the unaccountable and the pious platitudes of pompous politicians which have been running this country for too long.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Shut up.
I can't. That was Carol McGiffin, by the way.
Right, so what are we doing?
I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin, and if you wish to be amused, if you want to just take a mental holiday from all of this grief that's going on, then it'll be right up your alley. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, in which we try to solve people's problems. Now, if you have a dilemma that you want me and Carol to have a look at, because every now and again we do come up with some good advice, then here is the address to send it to, nickandcarol@global.com, nickandcarol@global.com. But you must prepare to be totally satisfied.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? I'd have to say that it really is funny. And there's way over, there must be over 130 episodes up there now. It comes out on Mondays and Fridays. And it really is a laugh. I genuinely look forward to it twice a week, doing that podcast with her, because we just laugh so much. She sets me off. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? That's what it's called. I think you'll love it. Marbella. Hello, Luca.
Hello.
Luca.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Perfect. I've just been listening to you, and I just wanted to get your point of view on the new national, as you called it, the national conscription.
Yeah.
National service kind of policy from the Tories.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear your side from it.
My side is they had a terrible first day of campaigning. They were probably sitting around a table with their heads in their hands, crying, filling up the room with their tears, and they just were trying to think of something, anything, in order to shore up the elderly vote, and that's all they could come up with. There is no plan, that word that keeps coming up. There is no intention to actually do any of this, because they know that they're not going to be in after the 4th of July. So it's just a knee-jerk reaction to the disaster of the first day of their campaigning. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, I'm 19, so it would really affect my age group. And to be honest, I do think you're being a bit critical about this just because it's a Tory policy.
Yeah, but it's not a policy. It's not a policy. They just came out with it and pulled it out of the air. It's not a policy. It's just an idea. We'll chuck that at the wall and see if it works.
Yeah, no. I mean, in no way, shape or form do I support the Tories in the last 14 years. But I actually do think it's actually somewhat of a good idea. I mean, I'm not a Tory supporter, but I am in the age group, and I do think it will fill our youngsters with a bit of national pride, which I think is missing today.
Oh, do me a favour. National pride. I mean, what on earth does that mean?
No, I think it's very important. You know, if you care about your country, you want to help your country, and I think that's it's a good aspect we should have in society. But not.
Yeah, but that has got nothing. That has got nothing to do with being conscripted into national service. I mean, marching up and down the parade ground. How is that going to make you proud to be British if you weren't previously?
Well, Nick, I think a few of us we do take pride in being British, especially me.
But what does that mean, though, Luca? You were randomly born on a place on Earth that is that's called Britain. Why does that mean does that mean that you are proud to be British? It's just nonsensical.
That's very true, but I don't know. I guess I'll have to answer that question at a later date. But I do think also, apart from all the national pride palaver, it does open a bit of career aspects for the kids, because, you know, they're talking about doing placements in the NHS, you know, in the public health services. And, you know, I think it will especially help kids from, you know, deprived situations in areas, because many of them don't have the opportunity to get their ambitions opened up because they have a lack of introduction into jobs such as public services. Also, I do think it's a nice way to make friends and have a bit of fun, loosen up and enjoy themselves.
Right, well, you seem to be arguing against me, but I already have set my stall out as being somebody who does not think it's necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah. To be fair, the only bad thing about it, I think, is I've kind of got a libertarian kind of liberal stance on it, that you should never force anyone to do anything. And I'm actually very against, you know, having repercussions for not attending this national service.
Well, now you're coming across like a hippie, Luca.
A bit so,
and I don't think liberal and libertarian sit very well together.
Yeah, that's very true. I might have got my terms mixed up. I mean, I'm only a young guy, but yeah. But I mean, the cost is something also which I'm, you know, 2.4 billion. Yeah, but then again, we do spend that kind of money. They're just pulling
these numbers out of the air. It's numbers and hot air signifying nothing. They haven't costed this. They're just throwing stuff against the wall to see if something sticks. Because they tried to send him to a bread factory and he sniffed a loaf, and that didn't work because he got a photograph taken in front of the Morrison's sign, and his head took out the middle of the word, so it just looked like moron was written behind him. You got a photograph taken on a plane underneath a sign that said exit. Immediately following the drenching in Downing Street to the accompaniment of Things Can Only Get Better. And he got photographed outside of a pub called, what was it? The Crooked Billet. the local photographer managed to edit out the billet part, and it just said crooked above his head. So absolutely everything has gone wrong for him so far. And they know that the only people that are likely to go vote for them, even if you put a gun to their heads, would be the elderly in this country. And they got the 70-plus vote shored up right enough, but they want the 60-pluses, or the 50-pluses would be a good idea. And they have no chance of being swept up by the net of conscription. So they think, and the older you get, the less warmly you consider the young. So they think, well, you know, that's like two birds with one stone. We can deal out some punishment to the kids while pleasing the oldsters. There's nothing positive about this. There's nothing thought out about it. It's just it's a moment of quiet desperation. Just chucking it out there to see what happens. And they put a number beside it, 2.5 billion, as though they've thought about it. Don't be convinced about any of the above. Anyway, best of luck, Luca. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Ahmed says, are you not glad that in a couple of months' time the Wally without the brolly will no longer be in power? Andy says, I do feel as though it's almost like being, in fun fairs they have like a crazy house, and part of it will be you walk between one side and the other, and the ground is moving like you're in an earthquake. It's a bit like that. It's a bit like the ground is being shaken by some unseen force. It's a bit like living in a snow globe that's been shaken up. And everything is floating upside down at the moment, but it's going to come down to rest eventually, probably on July the 5th. And then things could possibly get better. Yeah, that part I'm looking forward to, no doubt about it. 0345 6060 973. Andy says, as the Brexit voting Tory loving populace like to call anyone who disagreed with them snowflakes, I've got a name for these snowflakes standing down. Cornflakes. Not cornflakes. Cornflakes. Any thoughts, Smug?
I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. When he does know something, I'll let you know.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hello. Well, let's get back to it.
0345 6060 973. Yesterday I was talking about one of those two high-vis jacketed people in the biscuit distribution centre that were bussed in from elsewhere in order to throw some underarm questions to Rishi Sunak, pretending to be workers in that distribution centre, but they were actually Tory operatives. Incredible that they thought they could get away with it. I mean, they really do think that we're stupid. It's just, it's kind of annoying, really. One of them described themselves on social media as a part-time dentist, which is a thing that I'd never heard of before. What's a part-time dentist? I asked on the air. And Howard has the information. He texted, a part-time dentist simply fills in. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
0345 6060 973. Abbot, Halifax.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I just, you're doing okay, aren't you?
I'm okay, yeah. Let's not get carried away. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to be very categorical about the debates here, like saying, for example, if I was Starmer, I wouldn't debate with Sunak.
Why not?
Because, yeah, I mean, there's nothing. You saw what he did with Liz Truss there. He never gives anyone else a chance to speak.
Who? You're talking about Rishi Sunak?
Yeah, he never gave. He has never answered questions at the Prime Minister.
No,
the PM.
That he does not do. No, but I think in a debate he would be forced to.
He might just be forced to, but he sets a very bad example from when she was doing the hustings and all that.
Yeah,
and he just doesn't really come across okay.
You see, I think that Keir Starmer would win just as much as he wins Prime Minister's questions, because Rishi Sunak never strays from his prescripted answers and doesn't give the answer to the question that's been asked. He gives the answer that he has learned to the question that he wanted to have been asked. But that wouldn't he wouldn't be able to get away with that in a long form debate programme. But on the other hand, Keir Starmer is so far ahead in the polls, he doesn't really need to. So.
Yeah, obviously he doesn't need to debate him. On another issue, I just wanted to understand here. Can he claim to have made success of the fellow scheme? Oh, I did help everyone and all that, but he doesn't take responsibility for the eat out and help out, which spiked the virus, and a lot of people died at that time.
Eat out to help the virus out.
How can he?
How can he claim responsibility for all of the goods that came from the furlough scheme? Well, the furlough scheme to me looked like the rush to acquire PPE. It looked like the ideal opportunity, the best opportunity outside war, to funnel vast amounts of the public's money into the pockets of friends and donors.
That's exactly what happened, didn't it?
That's what happened.
Yeah.
So he can take credit for that if he likes, but I doubt he would want to.
But he won't take responsibility for the spread, which killed a lot of people. That one was terrible. That one, the eat out and the help out. Yeah, he was really terrible. I can't believe he
doesn't take responsibility for anything. He wants only praise, not criticism. He wants praise for, in his words, the plan is working to bring inflation down. Now, if his plan is bringing down inflation, then it is surely his responsibility that inflation was so high in the first place. I mean, you can't claim that you have the power to reduce inflation if inflation was so high and it was high and it had absolutely nothing to do with you. I mean, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, when it was going up, it was not your problem. But even now, it doesn't even talk about the core inflation, the inflation which is inside the inflation, not the headline inflation they announce a lot of times.
Well, here's how bad it is. They think we're stupid enough to think that now inflation is 2.5%, that it's just putting money in our pockets. They keep saying that.
Did you receive that £900 he's talking about? Maybe you're in that bracket. Did you receive that? I didn't receive that money.
No, nobody did, Abbot. They're lying about that too. And of course, if you make under 25 grand a year, then you're actually worse off, not better off. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Maybe I've just missed it, but the amount of times that he and Hunt and all of the rest of them have said, the plan is working, the plan is working. And never once have they been asked what the plan actually is. There is no plan. There is no plan to bring inflation down. They just wait until it happens and then take credit for it. But when it goes up, it has absolutely nothing to do with them. Oh, it's, outside forces. It's the war in Ukraine or the rain. Whatever it might be on whichever day they happen to be trying to get away with this stuff. If it is within their power to reduce inflation, then why didn't they do it before now? Why did they wait till now? When the price of goods, particularly food, has gone up by at least 20%, and just because inflation is 2.5% now, doesn't mean to say that prices are coming down. They're still going up, but from a massively increased base level. But they actually have so little, there's so little, oh God, brain's going, respect for us, that they're actually trying to get away with saying that inflation at 2.5% is now putting money in our pockets, that we're feeling the benefit. Am I hallucinating, or is this real life? Let's have West Devon. Hello, Rose.
Oh, hello. Hello, Nick.
Rose.
I just sort of heard whoop, and then you said Rose.
West Devon.
Yeah, it's the phone. First of all, apologies for ringing 2 nights running. I sort of felt moved to do so. Moved, yes.
Where have you moved to?
A couple of points. Well, actually, I wasn't going to talk about that, something that happened years ago, but I've kind of gone off the boil of it a bit.
Right.
Because I wanted to, well, just quickly, first of all, to say I'm really with you on the animals in zoos. I just find it one of the most horrific things. Absolutely no excuse.
Yeah, it doesn't appeal to me at all. I mean, I did...
Why should they be in prison?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that zoos probably do good work to keep species alive that might otherwise die in the wild. I mean, you know, they could... I'm sure a lot of scientific work goes on in the background, but I can't get past the part about them being in prison.
No, I won't get past it, and neither will... what's her name, that wonderful actress? Virginia McKenna and the Born Free Foundation, you know?
Right.
Absolutely marvellous.
I mean, if it's an insect, then that's one thing. If it's like a fish, then, you know, they're probably not thinking about life too much as a fish. I don't really know. But if it's a tiger or something like that, and they're just pacing up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down, I mean, that's awful.
It is one of the most wicked things on earth, yes.
Just for our amusement, for you know, people to wander around with an ice cream and point and laugh.
Yes, because we're the superior species, and anything can be done to other species to give us entertainment or to save us the least inconvenience.
Right.
Might is right.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. About your throat, you won't want to hear this, will you?
Go on.
Well, you sound virtually normal now, but it just crossed my mind that it could be tight. Why it's not getting better as quick as you would have expected could be because you're tightening it up without realising it, because you're worried about it. And interestingly enough, people have lost their voices and not known why, and it turns out there's a lot of tension in the neck, the way they're holding their neck.
Oh, well, I do feel tension in my neck. You
could do worse than find an Alexander teacher then, because that's what happened to him, and he started this whole... I went to an Alexander teacher once for my lower back, and it was absolutely marvellous.
Well, I do sit very badly.
Gentle treatment.
I mean, I spent most of my life sitting in front of a computer screen. And I do feel as though it's almost like I've got bricks on my shoulders, and I just slump down and down and down and down. And I realise that, like, I'm almost folded in half, and then I have to pull myself up again. And then the process continues, like a down and down and down. And I pull myself up like I'm on some sort of like spinal
torture.
No, I was actually going for a fairground ride.
Oh right.
You know, the ride that goes up and down. God, my brain is since midnight. My brain is shut off. What's the ride that goes up and down in the fairground?
No idea.
Yeah, you get on a
big wheel. The big wheel.
No, not that. No, you get on a little car and you go up, 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 up. And
then... the merry-go-round with the horses.
No, not that. No.
Oh. Well, I don't know.
Roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on some sort of vertebral roller coaster, up and down and up and down.
Well, your body's under stress, isn't it? Listen, I just wanted to say something else about you. You know that thing where people ring in and say that you're keeping them sane and it feels like pressure?
Yes.
Well, you see, I was thinking about that. I think it was earlier today, and I thought, there's no need for you to feel pressure about that. That's the least difficult part of your job, because what's keeping us sane is just you being you, and the fact that you're there and you have your feelings that you have and the views that you have, because it makes us feel connected.
This is not making me feel any better, Rose. This is ramping up the pressure.
Why? Why? Because you don't actually have to, you don't have to be brilliant or witty or anything.
Oh, thank God for that.
With that bit of it. It's the bit that is just not... Oh, dear, I can't really describe it any better.
Right.
That, because somebody in the public, in the media or whatever, is actually thinking the way I think, or, feeling the way I feel about so many things. And that makes one feel better. It doesn't matter how you express it.
Right.
See what I mean? It's just the fact that one knows.
Yes. If you have an idiotic thought every now and again, Rose, you know that I will cover at least 90% of them on any given show.
I know that you'll be having exactly the same idiotic thought.
Yes, yeah, I can guarantee it.
Oh, bless you. I don't think I can... Shall I tell you the time I found my blissful home?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah? Okay. Well, it's a long, long time ago, and I'd found this lovely flat out in Kent. So it wasn't that far from London, and yet it was quite remote. So I moved out of London, and then I was evicted. And I thought, that's it, I've got to go back to a bedsit, because it was like being in heaven there. And a girl said to me, friend, she said, don't be so arrogant. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I thought, right, she's right. I'll just go for a walk and enjoy myself while I'm still here.
Yes.
So I climbed up to the top of the downs where I had been going by habit, walked along this lane, and I kid you not, I was in the now. Golden, what are they called, buttercups and things around me. I thought, yeah. And then where I was then, I could see no houses, really. And then I come across two, one on one side of the road, one on the other. And the one on the right was the old blacksmith's forge, actually, it turned out. And I thought, shall I knock on that? And I thought, no. Say, I've got a cottage. It's absolutely ludicrous. I'd feel such a fool. And there was another one on the left. So anyway, I carried on walking, and I went down this hill. I knew so well by now. It was just so beautiful, with meadows all round and woods. And all of a sudden, I heard a clang. And I kid you not, I didn't think I'll turn round. My legs walked me round. They just went back up the hill, and I thought, what am I doing? Because you always think you're bothering people, you know. And I just thought, well, I'll just see what this is. I don't think I was thinking at all. And I looked up this track, and there was this old geezer with a tractor. And I just found myself going up there, and I said, I'm terribly sorry. This is what I was like. I'm terribly sorry to bother you, I said. Oh, you're the young lady who parks her bicycle in the edge and goes for walks. And I said, yes. And he had one tooth. And I said, he did. Bless him. And I said, I know this is a stupid question. You don't know anyone with a cottage to let round here, do you? And he went, I've got one.
No.
What? He did, and he said, whatever made you come up here today? I've been out harvesting dawn till dusk every day. It was July the 7th, I'll never forget it. And what it was the smaller bits of this long house that he was in, the farmhouse with his wife. And it had been all one originally, I suppose, but yes, I knew it had to find out. But it had been the labourer's cottage. It was tiny, and Mrs. Longley, she said, don't be so ridiculous, she said to him. It's not been lived in for 3 years. She said, Mother, give us a key. And so eventually got into it. And I knew I was saved, Nick. I knew. And I cycled back down the hill to where I was being evicted from.
Yeah.
I could understand it, really. I was very untidy. And it was, flat indoors. Anyway, never mind that bit of it. And all this stress and thinking I'll be back in London forever had all fallen off me, and I just knew. And, it was the most wonderful 10 years that cuckoos were flying about, swallows were flying about. There was a green woodpecker going, ha, 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 yes, a nightingale in the woods, honestly.
Well, the stuff that can happen to you when you least expect it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, that's excellent. Good story. Thanks a lot, Rose.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. Matthew Wright. Weekends. Nick Abbott. On LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
And I can't stand him.
0345 6060 973. This text says, it's been shared that Titchy Suit Size will announce mandatory national service for 18-year-olds. Quite a stark contrast to Keir's more warm message to the young voter. I don't think Rishi is good at this politics stuff. Well, they're trying to appeal to different age groups, because young people are likely to vote Labour. Old people are more likely to vote Conservative. And it used to be, if you get over the age of 50, then you switch from a Labour voter to a Tory voter, more or less, at 50. And then it became 60 years old, and now it's plus 70. Even 60 years old, you're still more likely to vote Labour these days than you are Tory. The only age group that is still more likely to vote Conservative than Labour are the plus 70s. So the Tories need to get the 60-year-olds back on side. And that's what this conscription for 18-year-olds is all about. I mean, I wouldn't be remotely surprised if the next thing they say is vote Conservative, and once you reach your 60th birthday, you'll be able to thrash the child of your choice. 0345 6060 973. Sam Batch. Hello, John.
Oh, gee, you got me laughing on that one. The Rishi Sunak standing out in the rain.
Yes.
I have visions of him when they opened the door and he said, "Hey, look, it's raining out there. I'm not going out there." And he shoved him out.
Somebody must have pushed him out. I can't believe that he thought it up and did it himself. I mean, his PR team are either the worst public relations group in history, or they really hate him and are just trying to see how much amusement they can get out of their situation before they get fired.
It seems that way. It seems like the Ben Johnson making a fool out of him. And which wouldn't be too hard, I suppose. But have you noticed he's picked the 4th of July to be the election day?
Yeah.
Same day as the American Independence Day.
Independence Day, yeah.
I wonder why. Is that a hint to saying, if I lose this, I'm off?
Our independence from him.
Yeah.
That'll be the headline in the Mirror. It's Independence Day with a picture of him with a big cross through his face.
Yeah, that'll be right. He'd be gone. Well, writing's on the wall for him then, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed.
Well, there's no chance of him getting enlisted.
Enlisted? No, I think he'd probably failed the physical.
He probably would. He'd probably fail the height test. But the thing is about people joining the army and that, one caller was on about, I mean, it changes with different times. I mean, my dad was a regular army, done the regular army, Black Watch Position in 36, Palestine in late 37. East Asia in after that, and then sing Japanese Prisoner of War. So I said to him when I was 18, "Hey, Dad, I think I'll join the army." He went ballistic.
Yeah.
Absolutely ballistic.
Yeah.
He said, "What do you think you're doing? You're just nothing for nobody," he said. "Nothing for nobody. Don't you ever think you're joining... If you join the army, you're out."
So did you?
No, right. I got a good selling off.
Yeah, okay. All right, thanks, John. 0345 6060 973. Furious Tories have branded Rishi Sunak a clown. This is the story in the Mail. A clown. Which is weird because, being furious and all, because I thought they liked being led by a clown, The
great big greedy nincompoop.
That clown. And furious Tories have called for a confidence vote after Titchy Suitsizer's election announcement. There's more than, 80 now, Tory MPs, including at least 2 ministers, have announced that they're stepping down. Very, very sorry to see you go.
Bye-bye.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Leaked WhatsApp messages from those on the right wing of the right-wing party slammed the Premier for going to the polls on July the 4th. Mostly, I guess, because they can't think of any other way to parlay their skills into getting another job that you don't have to do any work for and that pays 90 grand a year plus £250,000 in expenses and subsidised everything. Departing disgruntled Conservatives include, but are not limited to, Transport Minister Hugh Merriman, Deputy Speaker Dame Eleanor Lang, Employment Minister Joe Churchill, James Grundy, all of which said they would not fight to keep their seats. I don't know what you're thinking. You're thinking, those are just random names I made up because you've never heard of them. And I can assure you that I have not. They're real people, actual MPs, and we're going to miss them terribly, no?
No.
And I'm not making this part up either. Conservative former Minister Sir Michael Ellis announced that he will not be standing for re-election. The Northampton North MP counted among his lasting legacy achievements, and I quote, "The Diamond and Platinum Jubilee gifts I arranged for the late Queen on the parliamentary estate, and a plaque to commemorate former Prime Minister Spencer Perceval, a Northampton MP born in 1762. I'm not making that up. That is honestly what he said were his greatest lasting legacies. A present for the Queen and a plaque for a Prime Minister from 1762. I mean, you just couldn't make that stuff up, could you? In one leaked WhatsApp message, the Mirror reported that Tories were reacting in fury to the Prime Minister's announcement, with one saying, "The clown has just consigned the party to the political wilderness." Another described the summer snap election as madness. Well, you know, it would be if the Prime Minister needed to keep his job for the cash. But it's just small change to him. What does he care? I bet he's booked his private jet already. Because if he can get in the air quick enough, he might just make it back to the States to see the Independence Day fireworks, while we celebrate our independence from him. Glenn says, I know Titch's number one priority is to stop the boats. What are the other 4 priorities? Nobody knows because we're all bored of listening after priority number 1.
It's the country's number one priority. It's my number one priority up and down the country, and that will be our focus.
He should be gripping it.
I'm gripping it.
He is actually gripping it already. All over it. There's going to be some woke thing coming up next. I can't imagine what it might be, because it seems like they've scraped the bottom of the barrel with the vegan scones. You wouldn't think that they could possibly get any sillier than that. Oh, rainbow lanyards. That's right. You know, concentrating on the serious stuff. Things that are important to us. Like unisex toilets. They're going to be ramping that up no end. I just can't imagine what's going to be next. Isn't it exciting? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 12:30. The news headlines with Tim Daly.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hang about, Nick. Listen. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
Mike texts, Sunak has just announced he's bringing back national service. We're probably only a few weeks away from him promising to reintroduce proper glass bottles and forcing newsagents to stock penny sweets. And Gary says, when Rishi was making his general election speech with the rain pouring down upon him, I couldn't help but think that there was more apt words to the background music that he had to endure as being things can only get wetter. Oh no. Another listener with material. I should pre-read these before I blurt them out on the air. All my fault. I am very apologetic.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
Totally screwed up.
I mean, I am so sorry. You just don't know how sorry I am.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, very, very sorry. Let's have, let me see now. Liverpool. David. Oh, come on now, David. Time's running out. Just under the wire. Yes, David.
Okay. In the early 1960s, I missed national service by about 18 months.
Oh, yeah.
And over those years, right through the 60s into the 70s, you know, people were saying, people like me, you know, you youngsters, you don't know what it was like, and you know, if you did 2 years in the army or whatever, and it's never stopped. And I'm in my 80th year now, and they're still at it. And this guy, this Prime Minister, has come up with this, and he's, without a doubt, shot himself in the foot. So this is one old fella that doesn't have a go at the younger people.
Right.
and I will never change my vote. And, you know, all these ministers and others that are packing in and not standing anymore, you know, they're not, what it is, I just think that they just can't see themselves being in opposition.
No.
Not all of them want to spend more time with their family. And we remember the likes of Sunak and a few of them. They were members and ministers in Johnson's government.
Yep.
And we can go back and look back at the COVID and what's happened. People couldn't visit their loved ones, bury them when they died. And, you know, we shouldn't forget that. And me at my age, I won't forget it either.
Right.
And I never thought I would see a Labour government when this lot got in 2010. I was 65 that year, and I thought, well, you know, the way it went on year after year, I thought, I can't see myself seeing a Labour government before I die.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, I'll be wrong, because this guy and the rest of them, Boris Johnson, Nick, I've seen prime ministers from the early 60s, and Boris Johnson, in my book, has been the worst prime minister this country's seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, I would have to say that for the damage done over the longest period of time, it would have to be Margaret Thatcher. I mean, we're still suffering from her water privatisation and the electricity and the gas and, you know, all of that, just giving away all of the family silver to the already super rich, because that's where it all ended up.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody has been so. I mean, at least Margaret Thatcher had some sort of. I hate to use this word because it's been so overused, but plan. At least she had some sort of conviction as to what it was that she wanted to achieve. But Boris Johnson, it seemed to me, he was only interested, like Donald Trump, only interested in maximising his pleasure at any given moment, like a baby.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, when he came out of his home that morning and decided he was standing on the Brexit side, that was because he knew he had a chance and pushed himself to become Prime Minister.
Right.
And as you rightly said, it was all about him. Mm-hmm. And, you know...
And continues to be.
And it does. And I can't wait, and I hope I'm still here in a few weeks to see this lot kicked out.
Right, well, cling on in there, David. Not long to go yet. All right, thanks a lot, mate. Cheers. 0345 6060 973. Caroline says, could have looked at the weather forecast and announced it the next day, which was sunny. Well, that's true, yeah. You didn't have a plan for that, that's right. Are these today's texts? Because they seem to be referencing things that are a couple of days old now. John says, based on Tory policies, I feel that they have moved to the right. Do you think? And based on Labour policies, they seem to have moved to the right too. Yeah, well, compared to Jeremy Corbyn, yeah, no doubt. He says, so do we now have Tory Republicans and Labour Democrats both okay with the 4th of July as election day? Not quite sure I understand that last point, but I think the reason that the Labour Party have moved to the right is that that's where most of the people are. Most of the people are in the middle. I mean, the Tories seem to have given up the middle entirely and just seem to be lurching ever towards a sort of a Suella Braverman hellscape, because that's what they think is best for them. That's what they think. That's where they think the votes are. That's where they think the older votes are. Not all older people, of course. I mean, I keep getting people texting me, like this chap here, Lou, says, I have to put you straight. I'm 74. I voted Remain. I've not voted Tory, and I never will. I am typical of all my friends and relatives in their 70s. I'm selling my home to help my sons and disabled daughter financially, so please don't make sweeping statements about my generation. We're not as stupid and selfish as you think. Well, of course I'm not. I don't mean all of you, but the majority. I mean, there's no doubt about it. If you look at the polling, the majority of the people over 70 years old want to vote for the Conservative Party first. Reform come a very close third to the Labour Party for the 70-pluses. And if you add Reform and Conservative together for those 70 plus, that is 60%. And it's the only age group that gets over 50% of the votes if you add Reform and the Tory vote together. Everybody under the age of 70 is more likely, according to this, and it's not just one poll, this is a poll of polls by YouGov, taken over more than 2 weeks in this month. Everybody below the age of 70 is more likely to vote Labour than Conservative. But 70 plus, it flips. It's the other way around. But of course, that's not all 70-year-olds, because as I said, 25% of them, a quarter, will vote Labour. But 60% want to vote for Reform or the Tories. And I would assume that if Reform did not exist, then 60% would vote for Tories. That's an assumption. That's a sweeping generalisation of the kind of thing that I've just been upbraided for. But that's what polls are for, to give us an idea of the mood of the nation. It does seem extraordinary that there's still, even now, still something in the order of 25% of the general population that think that after 14 years of Conservative rule, what we really need more than anything else is 5 more years of it. I just can't fathom it. I genuinely don't get it. 0345 6060 973. West Midlands. Hello, Ranjit.
Hi. Right, mate.
Are you refreshed?
Booze. Yeah, I'm on my. Just finished my second can. I'm sitting at home, just listening to you. Right. Yeah, Nick. You asked, right? When he walked back in that door, what he said. Are you familiar with the Carry On films?
Yes.
At all? Was it Carry On Cleo or something where Kenneth Williams goes in
infamy,
and he goes, infamy, yeah. That's what I think he must have said when he got in there, yeah. Outside he was being the big man, yeah. And, I think he must have heard me on your show when I say, the Clint Eastwood quote, right, don't peel my back and tell me it's raining, right? That's what the message he was trying to pass on to people. I can take the rain that I've been peeing on you lot for years, right? So you just take it. That's what he said. Right. I seriously doubt he said anything above, and I seriously doubt he listens to this show. If Rishi Sunak had ever heard this show, I'm sure that that men in balaclavas and dark jumpsuits would be bursting through the windows here and spraying gunfire all around. No. That's why you keep on getting these sorted out, you see. He's trying to do it softly and gently. Remember a couple of weeks ago when I was talking to you, yeah?
Vladimir Putin style.
I had a problem with my throat as well. You asked me, are you okay, Randy? I think it's about 3 weeks ago.
Very suspicious.
Yeah. And then, the orange tornado.
Yes.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. He's looking for Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I think Tweedledum has already exited this country and says he's going to help Donald Trump.
I'm a nutcase.
Win the next election. Yeah, he's going to help him to win the next general election.
Yeah.
And I think that on July the 5th, right, Rishi Sunak might announce his, departing speech from America anyway, saying, listen, I forecasted, right, because I bet against the Conservatives, right, and I won loads and loads of money, right? The removal vans are already booked in, but I'm already in America, guys, and thank you very much for the last 18 months.
Yeah, thanks for all the cash. Yeah.
Thanks for all the cash, right? And, if I can give you a sporting analogy, yeah? When India and Pakistan play cricket together.
No,
right?
I don't.
No, I know you don't. But okay, but Man United, Man City today, right?
Go ahead.
Everybody had the money on Man City.
Yes.
Right. So can you imagine if all the Man City management, right, betted for Man United to win, there would have been quids in.
Yeah.
Right. Rishi Sunak, right, is making fools out of us.
Laying money on a Labour victory. Well, I wouldn't be remotely surprised.
Yeah, and in 2020, when he made his budget just before COVID, before we had the lockdown. I really went into that budget, and I really looked at it, and I thought, this is a blooming Labour budget he's done, right? He's copying everything what Labour have done, and suddenly COVID hit, right? When COVID hit, all the brakes went on everything, I understand that, and then it was Boris Johnson that says, okay, I'm going to Independence Day on July the 4th. Right, that was when he opened the lockdown, and I think that was the time when he done Eat Out to Help Out. Right, and I can't remember if I spoke to you or somebody. I said that's going to spread the disease
well,
even
it's so
more.
obvious. I mean, I actually availed myself of that opportunity to get a cheap meal, and I'm sitting there thinking. On the one hand, all these tables are spaced out so far apart. It's great because normally in a restaurant you have to squeeze in between tables, and you're practically, even if you've got a table on your own, you can hear every single thing that the people on the next table are saying to each other. And so I thought, this is actually how a restaurant should be. You could have a personal, sensual interface with the person that you've gone there with, and the next table wouldn't be able to see you, let alone hear you.
And then they've done, they've done it for the takeouts as well, right?
Yeah. But I did think that this is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life, because the virus doesn't know whether you're sitting down or standing up, because you had to put a mask on if you stood up to go to the loo. But if you were sitting down, of course, to shovel food in your mouth, you take your mask off. So I thought they really haven't thought about this at all. They're just making this stuff up as they go along.
And then he was running around in the restaurant pretending to be a waiter, right? With his sleeves rolled up and everything. But, for someone that's supposed to be really intelligent and that, I've heard people saying, he's on about spreadsheets, right? He knows what's exactly going to happen, right, come October, November, right, and into next year. They're going to reduce all the prices of the energy and that. People who are in business, we're tied down to 3-year contracts. We don't get no help. We don't get nothing.
Really?
He has
3 years?
given 3 years. Well, January 2025 is when my gas and electric prices are going to be reviewed, right? So I'm locked in until then, right? Years ago, there was loads of business people that had bank loans that were tied in at a high rate, like 8-9%, and they couldn't get out of them. When the interest rates went down to like 2 or 3%, in business, they went bankrupt. So these people here, what he's done, like what you always say, a smash and grab. I speak to a lot of people. I say, right, this country is the 6th richest country in the world. Yes, I agree, but only a very small minority of the people have got the majority of the money.
Correct.
You know what they say? And then they say, yeah, but what about these bulk people? They're eating all into our things. Right, and I think to myself,
throw them out of your shop, Ranjit. Don't even give them a chip.
No, yeah, but sometimes, right, you just want to bang your head against the wall when you talk to these people. I mean, you had one of your callers, Lavinia, right, saying, well, they've all got it in for Rishi Sunak. Hang on, mate, listen, he's actually giving them all a punch in the nose. He says, I'm taking £125,000 off you by calling the election 6 months early, right? From yesterday, they're not getting paid anymore, right? But look at the people. Many
of them can afford it, but many of them will be looking in vain for another job that pays £90,000 that you don't really have to show up and do anything for.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. But if everybody here now, right, like who's on minimum wage, they think they're on. That's the worst part of it. I try not to talk about it to my customers, only 1 or 2, yeah. But like tomorrow, if I go to the pub, I see, are you on £90,000 a year? Right? Like the analogy you use, if Bill Gates walked into your pub, you'll all be billionaires. And that's what all these dumbos, right, tend to think, I'm a billionaire. You're not a billionaire, mate. You at the end of the month, come like the 24th, 25th of the month, you're scouting around, right, looking for pennies, right?
Checking the ashtray in your car, see if there's any change in there. That's right.
And those are the people that vote Tories.
It's amazing to me that the poorer you are, the more likely you are to vote Conservative. That's an actual fact. Yes, it's just incredible, but true. Ranjit, you're going to have to calm down.
Speak to you next week.
Okay. Just take a moment to relax. You relax, Randy. It might not have... Oh, no. That's right. It already has. 0345 6060 973. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
We are running late. Let's have, let me see now, who's been waiting the longest? I'll be totally fair about this. It is Clacton. Ben.
Hello.
Yes, Ben.
Hello, Nick. Yeah, I think your show is the most entertaining show on LBC.
It's the most entertaining show on LBC at the moment.
Yes. Well, in the history of LBC.
It's the only thing on LBC, Ben. At the moment.
At the moment, yeah. Your little captions are wonderful. Made me laugh. Anyway, yes, I'm celebrating the fact that Sunak has finally decided to let 16-year-olds have the vote.
Yes.
Because I was involved as a
So
governor
he says,
for
though.
30.
So he says, though.
Well, I think he'll do it. They voted for it anyway. But the Labour Party themselves wanted that. But, yeah, I was a governor for 35 years and worked with students, everything else, and I used to prepare them for when they were leaving school to go on health and safety. I used to teach them to a certain extent a national exam.
Oh, yeah.
And they were, I mean, when I was a 16-year-old, and you compare when I was a 16, I'm 77.
70, I haven't got the right page up. One moment, please. 77 years old. Go ahead.
And when I was 16, I don't think I was quite right to take it on. But
no.
The children I worked with were, I mean, the 14 and 15-year-olds had to, every election in the school, they had to make up their own policies. They had to stand in hustings in the middle of the school and talk to those policies and being asked questions on it, and then create a lovely brochure to promote their policies. And these are 14 and 15-year-olds. Now, they're much more intelligent than I was at that age. And I've been campaigning for this sort of thing for years. And because I used to sit in meetings with councils, and they were sacking youth workers, gifted people who kept the kids away from the gangs and the knives.
Yeah.
And I think the Tories have got blood on their hands because of all the austerity cuts. Because
Short-termism is what the problem is.
Yes,
It affects almost everything. It's apart from us voters being responsible for everything that ails us, mostly it's short-termism that is at fault. Yeah.
It is. I mean, I overheard a Conservative MB on television when a reporter asked them why are you making all these cuts to youth services? Well, you said they can't vote.
Yes. Yeah. It's as naked as that. Precisely right.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, so therefore, I think it'd be wonderful once they do get the vote. But they do need education as well, and there should be something in the curriculum, maybe once a month, where they're told about how much their vote actually matters and how it can change things for them. And they've got much more power of the vote. And if they get as many to vote as possible, then services for them will improve. Because the politicians, any politicians, Labour, Tory, whatever they are, will have to listen because they have the vote.
Yes. The key part is using the vote. It might not seem as though the perfect party is available for you to vote for, but by small increments, by just going out and doing your tiny little bits. Well, God, it's only once every 5 years, for crying out loud. Just do it, people.
Yes, and I think they should also make youth services a statutory duty of all councils, so that they cannot make the cuts, because it's so easy over the years. I had to sit there for a long time these decent people, gifted people. I mean, some of the youth workers, I've watched them, and they'd walk into a room and they'd be like a magnet. Children would just rush to them.
Yeah, they make a difference. Correct.
Oh, they did. They did. And they saved a lot of lives which have been lost now. Yeah. And it'll take years to get it back again to the way it was.
Well,
but it needs to be done.
Yeah, correct. It's going to take a lot more than 5 years. The first 5 years of, let's assume, a Labour government, the first 5 years is going to be just to putting out fires. After that, if they get a second term, then they might be able to fashion some sort of positive change in the country. But they're going to need at least 2 goes around to do it. Here, Ben, I've got to go because time's running out, but thanks for that. Sally says, I registered for postal vote before Rishi went back inside number 10 after announcing the election. She was straight on the computer registering for a postal vote. Clive says, so the Tories want national service. That should get the unemployment figures down. Diana says, I'm annoyed at the election while I'm on holiday. Fingers crossed my postal vote arrives before I go away. Yeah. If you don't know where you're going to be, register for a postal vote. Do it right now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week. Do it immediately. And if you can't do it immediately, put it at the top of your list. Make a list. Put it at the top. Clive says, would you message me a copy of the plan? What, this plan?
We have a plan, or you just go back to square one. That's why it's so important we stick to this plan.
No, I can't message you that plan because all it would be is just the word plan a lot. Adrian says, I'm so glad that Rishi got a good soaking. Serves him right for taking the chase off TV on Wednesday. Did he? He interrupted the chase. I can't believe it. I thought he was evil until I heard that, and I thought, oh, well, okay, that's it confirmed. Leah says, I live in Italy. As soon as Fishy Rishi announced the date of the general election, I booked my flight to Gatwick so I can vote in person. And Rose says, another pathetic move from Rishi. A national service will delight his base, but turn off loads more people, particularly the young. Some of the young might not have bothered to vote, but they will now, says Rose. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much for your texts and tweets and such, particularly for the ones I couldn't get around to, and particularly the calls I couldn't get around to as well. Sorry about that. If you missed any of today's show, we do put the Friday and Saturday night shows up the internet as podcasts. We take the news and most of the ads out, mostly, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity, and it will give you more time to just savour the deliciousness of what might come on July the 5th. If you've got one of them stupid smart speakers, the magic phrase is play Nick Abbot The Whole Show podcast. It's on Global Player. If you don't have it, it's free. You can get it from your app store or globalplayer.com. I'll be back tonight at 10 o'clock. 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 I'll be back tonight at 10 o'clock.